Welcome to the Skanner Foundation 37th Annual Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast. We are delighted to see all of you live and in person after 2 years of virtual delivery of our annual Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast. We're happy that so many of you tuned in to the live stream on YouTube. But this morning, we can experience the physical presence, the energy, and the love that makes us the beloved community that Dr. King envisioned. So, if you haven't done so already, be sure to say hello to old friends and introduce yourself to people you don't know today after this event. This is a time to revive our energy and a dedication to the ideals put forth by Dr. King. We have an exciting program for you this morning with music, a Drum Major for Justice Award, a keynote speaker, and scholarship presentations. We are live on Facebook, so we must honor our timeline. There will be brief remarks from a few table guests, and they have been asked to limit their remarks to 2 minutes. We hope you enjoy the program. Also, if you're using social media, please use the hashtag SKBreakfast. Now, let us please stand as we sing the National Black Anthem, Lift Every Voice.
In June of 2020, I was commissioned to write an arrangement of Lift Every Voice and Sing for the Portland Symphonic Choir. This choir stands in solidarity with all those who condemn racial violence. And we resolve to use our voices, our platform, and our humanity to promote a culture of inclusivity and equality for all.
Some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop.
I refuse to accept the idea that man is mere flotsam and jetsam in the river of life, unable to influence the unfolding events which surround him. I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
I come here tonight and plead with you. Believe in yourself and believe that you're somebody. And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality.
Because I have a dream that my poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have the audacity to believe that peoples everywhere can have 3 meals a day for their bodies, education and culture for their minds, and dignity, equality, and freedom for their spirits. I believe that what self-centered men have torn down, men other-centered can build up. It's time for us to say to these men that if you don't do something about it, we will have no alternative but to engage in broader and more drastic forms of civil disobedience.
Somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. I'm black, I'm proud of it, I'm black and beautiful. So I'm happy tonight, I'm not worried about anything, I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
It is now my pleasure to introduce to you our honored guests seated at the head table. CEO of Kaiser Permanente, Jeff Collins. Next to Jeff is our newly elected Multnomah County Chair, Jessica Vega Pederson. Next is our CEO of Providence Health and Services, William Olson. Our Oregon State Attorney General, Ellen Rosenblum. Vice President of the Skanner Foundation, Bobby Dore Foster. And to my right is our keynote speaker, Eugene Hamilton, which you'll hear more about later on. Seated next to Mr. Hamilton is U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, our new governor of the state of Oregon, Tina Kotek. Seated next to the governor, U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley. And we have Oregon State Senator James Manning. On tier 2, left to right, Vice President for Student Services, University of Oregon, Roger Thompson. Excuse me, Dr. Roger Thompson. Seated next to Dr. Thompson, the first African-American president of Lewis and Clark College, Robin Holmes Sullivan. Dr. Robert Holmes Sullivan. Next, we have the first African-American president of the University of Portland, Dr. Robert T. Kelly. And we have the first African-American female president of Portland Community College, Dr. Adrienne Bennings. Seated next to Dr. Bennings, Deputy Secretary of State of Oregon, Cheryl Myers. And we have Portland City Commissioner Carmen Rubio. Next to Commissioner Rubio is the president of Heatherton Foundation. That's a mouthful early this morning. Mr. Jeff Hetherington. And seated next to Jeff is newly elected Multnomah County Sheriff Nicole Morrisey O'Donnell.
Pleasures I've had over the years for this wonderful event is to make sure that everybody knows that this audience, this dream team for justice, doesn't come together by osmosis. It comes together because two wonderful people, right here, Bobby Foster, over there, Bernie, put this together, making the calls, sending the text, doing the email. It doesn't happen by osmosis, folks. Let's give Bobby and Bernie, I can't hear you. I'm going to be very brief, and last night I tried to imagine what Dr. King would say if he surveyed the landscape of our wonderful community in Oregon and around the area. My hunch is he'd conclude his dream hadn't been realized, and he'd say, my goodness, we got a lot of work to do. And he'd probably be troubled by what you see in the newspaper too much, where everybody all over the country points the finger of blame at each other. So I just want to say for my remarks, we're better than that. We can come together and persuade that the fierce urgency of now means we got to have quality, affordable child care for all our vulnerable families. It's the governor's goal, it's Senator Merkley's goal, it's James Manning's goal. We've got to have accessible housing for every Oregonian in every corner of the state. Senator Merkley and I can tell you, after decades, the people beat Big Pharma, and we've got to make sure that all the working families and the seniors who are getting mugged at the pharmacy counter can get affordable insulin and affordable medicine. Fighting climate change, so devastating to families of modest means, mental and behavioral health. And I know somebody on the finance committee, and I think we got to make sure billionaires start paying their fair share of taxes. Last point, we know fighting crime, fentanyl, and gangs is something we all need to be invested in. We can't lose more young people to those scourges.
Greetings and happy MLK Day to you all. Great to be here in person, fighting for the dream. And MLK laid out a vision of that mountaintop where we had human dignity for all, where we had equal treatment for all, where we had access to the ballot box for all. And it's unbelievable that that dream is not yet fulfilled. In fact, in the last 2 years, we've had 21 states enact 42 measures that went down the hill instead of up to the mountaintop, putting new barriers to the ballot box. Well, last year, in 2022, Ron Wyden and I, 2 days after MLK Day, were on the floor of the Senate fighting to pass the Freedom to Vote Act. And we had 50 senators and a vice president, Kamala Harris, ready to pass that bill. But we only had 48 senators, and we needed 50 to get to a final debate. That Jim Crow relic, the filibuster, struck once again to strike down voting rights. We have to reform the filibuster in order to have justice for all in the United States of America. The bill that was killed would end gerrymandering that attacks equal representation for all. The bill that was killed would have stopped the dark money where billionaires put in hundreds of millions of dollars and it's never disclosed who they are, corrupting our campaign system. And most importantly, it would have defended the ballot box for all, including the practices we have of early voting and vote by mail, so that there were no election day shenanigans that can be used anywhere in the country to stop people from voting. We need to win that bill, and we will continue the fight in the U.S. Senate. But there's another fight I want you all to be aware of. The 13th Amendment has those 14 words that are an exception that continued slavery after we thought we'd ended it. It said slavery could be continued except as a punishment for crimes whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. Those 14 words, they led to the black codes that put hundreds of thousands of people into prison for crimes such as not yielding the sidewalk, or changing jobs without permission of an employer, or loitering. And then they were put into slavery. And one of the states that did this the max was Alabama, earning some 90% of their state revenue from renting out black Americans as slaves long after the Civil War and long after the 13th Amendment. That clause is in some 24 states' constitutions, but it is no longer in the Constitution of the state of Oregon. James Manning and Lou Frederick and Rob Wagner led the fight to put that measure up, Measure 112. Thank you for their leadership and the leadership of all.
I'm Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici. I'm glad to be here with you today to celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. First, I'd like to thank Bernie and Bobby Foster and the whole team at the Skanner for keeping the spirit of Dr. King alive in Oregon. Your leadership and reporting have made us a better and stronger community. There's a lot to reflect on this Dr. Martin Luther King Day. We are living in the midst of a pandemic, a gun violence epidemic, a climate emergency, and persistent inflation that all disproportionately harm Black communities. We face a profound threat to our democracy from white supremacists in Oregon, Washington, D.C., and around the country. But we've also seen resilience, resolve, and a deep community spirit. And we are witnessing an extraordinary, multiracial, multi-generational call for racial justice. One of Dr. King's lasting legacies is the federal education laws that are intended to give all students the opportunity to access free, quality public education. And as a member of the Education and Workforce Committee in Congress, I am keenly focused on equity in schools and deeply concerned about actions like what we saw with the Newburgh School Board's ban on pride and Black Lives Matter symbols. This is part of a dangerous national trend and should not be about politics. It's fundamentally about the safety of our students and who we are as a community. These actions send a clear message to LGBTQ and students of color that they are not valued and do not belong. This is unacceptable and I condemn it. Also unacceptable is the effort underway in places like Florida, for example, to hide history, to deny the reality of racism and discrimination that is still too pervasive in this country. This too I condemn. Dr. King's legacy challenges us in many ways. It challenges us to fight not just the battles in front of us, but those that are hidden from us by the very systems we are working to change. The battle over voting rights is one such challenge that remains before us, just as it did for Dr. King. Free and fair elections are the foundation of our democratic republic. Yet in recent elections, we have seen increasing voter suppression efforts, especially in Black communities and other communities of color. We must protect the voice of the people and do all we can so everyone who is eligible to vote is able to do so, regardless of where they live or who they are. Now more than ever, we must continue to work together for equity, for justice, and for equality. And as we celebrate the many hard-won victories for equity and justice and civil rights, let's recognize that we have more work to do together. We are not there yet, but the majestic heights that Dr. King envisioned for us are in view. Through unprecedented challenges, we are fortunate to have the wisdom of Black leaders past and present to guide us. Thank you.
Oh, good morning. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm going to be good and keep us on schedule here. But thank you. It's wonderful to be in North Portland. As you know, I lived in Kenton. I've been to this event many years as a state rep, Speaker of the House, and now as your governor. And North Portland will always be in my heart, and it's so great to be here. This is my first large public event since being sworn in last Monday. And there's nowhere else I'd want to be on MLK Day. And I want to thank Bobby and Bernie for their longstanding work. The Skanner Foundation is so important. Why I have loved this event year after year is the story of the scholarship recipients. They are our future. Congratulations to all the scholarship recipients. The young Oregonians are going to save us. They are going to create the world that Dr. King envisioned for all of us. And here in Oregon, we want to be that place where we are that land of promise where you can be anything and treated by who you are and not by what you look like or where you come from. And we're not there yet. But we will get there with the future generation that's coming in, and these scholarship recipients are the leaders who will solve those problems. And our job is to make sure they still have a world when they're old enough to be in charge. So we have to work hard to make sure that we create a state where there is opportunity for everyone, where no one lives in a tent on a sidewalk, where everyone who needs mental health or addiction treatment can get it, and we have the best schools where every child and every student has what they need to be successful. That is the Oregon we're going to build together. We are all inspired by the work and memory and legacy of Dr. King. And today, let's redouble our efforts on service and commitment to opportunity and justice in our state, because that is who we are as Oregonians, and let's build that together. Thank you, and have a great breakfast. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun, weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can, for my people, while the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night.
So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home.
Far across the river, can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Keep on keeping on, I can feel it in my bones. Yeah, yeah.
Early in the morning, before the sun begins to shine, we're gonna start moving towards that separating line.
I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home.
That's far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on.
And I know what's around the bend might seem hard to face 'cause I'm alone, and I just might fail, but Lord knows I tried. Sure as stars fill up the sky. Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer?
Keep on keeping
Yeah.
I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home.
Far across the river,
Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on.
yeah. Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Yeah.
I go to prepare a place for you.
I know to prepare a place for you. I go to prepare a place for you. I go to prepare a place for you.
Oh, thank you. It is a pleasure and honor to be here with you and to be amongst this distinguished group of leaders we have here. Our new governor, Tina Kotek. Give her a round of applause. I am a U.S. Army veteran, so all veterans out there, I want to give you a shout out and say thank you. But a day of service extends far beyond just veterans. You know, we have first responders, law enforcement, more importantly, everyday Oregonians. Everyday Oregonians. My staff put together a speech for me, and it's quite lengthy. And I was told that my time went down. I thought I had a half hour. So I won't be able to do a half hour, so I'll condense it. But there are some parts of this speech, if I don't deliver it, my staff will be certainly upset with me. So here's one part of the speech they wrote that I think is really important. Dr. King inevitably links civil rights with labor and economic justice. In 1957, Dr. King condemned the tragic inequities of an economic system which takes necessities from the masses and give luxuries to the classes. This is one of the ongoing problems that we have in society. If we're not reaching down and uplifting those of us who are struggling, I have yet to find a poor person to say, I want to be poor. Yet, I I have met poor people that says, I want an opportunity to do it myself. One such opportunity is the right of home ownership. In our great state of Oregon, we've gone through a lot of transformations, from redlining to having, if you look like me, you couldn't buy a home in our great state. We have since then, since I have been in the Oregon State Senate, we have removed those clauses off those deeds. Really important. But here's the other part about it now. There is a movement by hedge funders to come in, buy up all of the property, price out any future person who wants or desires to buy a home. We have to make sure that we are fighting against this. I need you to stand with me on this. Can I get you to stand with me? We understand the housing crisis that we are experiencing, and our governor has committed to doing something about that. But in addition to that is the unequal or the unemployment or the unemployment rate for people that look like me. In 2021, the national survey came out and said that black unemployment was at 8.6%, twice the national average. Specifically, I'd like to point out the need for black female entrepreneurs and professionals. We have to ensure that we are giving maximum support to their success. This includes how we level the paying field for them. You know, in my time in the Army, if you are a certain rank, you got exactly the same pay. If you have a black female director, she should get the exact same pay as their counterparts. We're looking at a lot of things, how investments and reinvestments into our communities happen or don't occur. The Skanner did an article, and they interviewed me on this about our lottery system. When we're putting money out, we should demand that some of that money come back to the neighborhoods where they are getting most of the money. It's only fair and the right thing to do. Now, again, I'm not getting any looks, so I got one more minute, I think, actually. So, I do, I heard something like wrap it up, so I'm going to do that. But one of the things, I want to leave a quote from Dr. King. Dr. King said, "Whenever you are engaged in work that serves humanity and is for building of humanity, it has dignity and it has worth." Everybody in this room has dignity and wealth and worth. And here's why. Each time I hear the term race, when I was in the Army active duty, I spent 24 years and 3 months, half that time overseas. Overseas, I served as a diplomat to my last assignment, a diplomat to the Australia-New Zealand Defense Force. There, I dined with the Chief of Army, the Chief of Defense Force, all of those folks, and they would ask me questions about military training or government issues, and I would always reply to them is that I can't respond to you in terms of what our government is doing, but I can talk to you about citizen manning, how I feel about these issues. But my time over there, I was never referred to as a black soldier, as a African American soldier. I served this country to stand up and fight for a constitution that didn't want me in it at the beginning. But there's one part of that constitution that keeps me going. to form a more perfect union, to form a more perfect union. And we start that today, now, standing in solidarity. Let's get ready. My sacrifices, my parents' sacrifices, I have earned a title of an American, not a Black American, not an African American, an American, because I've sacrificed, my family sacrificed. So I'm asking everybody, when you see another person, look past the aesthetic appearance, what they look like on the outside, because only until you can touch the heart of someone will you actually realize the dignity and value and work that you have, because you will pass it on to the next person. And with that, I think my time is up. Thank you for this opportunity, Skanner.
Thank you, Senator Manning. And now it's time to announce this year's Drum Major for Justice
Meet
Award.
my day. I don't want a long funeral. And if you get somebody to deliver the eulogy, tell them not to talk too long. And every now and then I wonder what I want them to say. Tell them not to mention that I have a Nobel Peace Prize. That isn't important. Tell them not to mention that I have 300 or 400 other awards. That's not important. Tell them not to mention where I went to school. I'd like somebody to mention that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to give his life serving others. I'd like for somebody to say that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to love somebody. I want you to say that day that I tried to be right on the wall question. I want you to be able to say that day that I did try to feed the hungry. I want you to be able to say that day that I did try in my life to clothe those who were naked. I want you to say on that day that I did try in my life to visit those who were in prison. I want you to say that I tried to love and serve humanity. Yes, if you want to say that I was a drum major, say that I was a drum major for justice.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Stowers Moreland. I am a community historian, also a historic preservationist, and I'm also the president of the Oregon Black Pioneers. My inspiration for being a part of this work started as an urban planner with the city of Portland, where I was responsible for working with a community advisory group and a group of historians to document the history of African Americans in Portland from 1805 to the present. And so that really led me to connect a relationship with Kathy Galbraith, who was the executive director of the Architectural Heritage Center. And together we began to kind of work on Cornerstone document, and she was, the lead writer and project manager for that project, and I was part of the advisory team. And so I interviewed several people who were staff in our advisory committee group at that time. And so it was just an amazing journey, getting more into historic preservation as opposed to the general history. I'm here because of Brandon Spencer-Harder, who is the historic resource manager. He really has elevated the role of Black historic preservation in Portland, and how important it is to talk about histories of color that have been kind of left out of our mainstream historic preservation movement. And so he has advocated and championed, for more resources to be used to hire people like myself and Caitlin Ewer and Matt Davis from the Architectural Resource Group to work on these nominations because it's such a lengthy and expensive process. And that's why I'm so excited to be a part of this, because I think a lot of times in our community, the Black history gets erased because of oftentimes African Americans are settled in areas that are now threatened by development. And so a lot of resources are torn down and demolished without second thought about the importance of that history, because African American historic sites aren't architectural gems. Sometimes it's buildings we pass every day and we don't realize how important these properties are to the history of African Americans in our community. And as we, identify the histories of these buildings, we bring light to how important these buildings played in the development of our city, as well as the history of our African American community. So as a member of the Historic Landmark Commission, I'm really hoping that we can convince, the city to update the historic resource inventory so we can include those properties that may not fit the traditional architectural significance of historic property, but have more cultural significance. When I was working for the city of Portland, it was a job assignment. And now I'm the owner of Moreland Resource Consulting, and I've kind of taken a lot of my public sector planning work and incorporated that into my business. And so I serve as a project manager, as community engagement. I also I'm still interpreting the history of African American history in both Portland and statewide. And so I was able to incorporate my passions into my entrepreneurship.
I'd like to present this year's Drum Major for Justice Award to Ms. Kimberly Moreland, who has been on the front lines of keeping our history intact.
I'd like to thank the Skanner Foundation for this wonderful award. There are so many others that could be standing in my place, and I'm just honored to be recognized for work that I enjoy doing and have such a passion for. I really cherish this honor. Thank you.
I am extremely humbled and honored today to share with you and to have been invited to be the keynote speaker. I think it's appropriate for us to give our esteemed co-founders and leaders for the Skanner News Group, who started in 1975. We want to give them a hand today. Mr. and Mrs. Bernie Foster, thank you for your legacy, for your commitment, and for all that you do. Special honor to all of our distinguished guests, as already been mentioned, elected officials, those of protocol and those who I don't know to call. I greet you today with joy and certainly with peace. But it's quite appropriate that we today celebrate an old warrior for justice in this hour. For those of you that have never heard me speak before, I start off Presbyterian. I may end up Pentecostal, but we'll be all right today. And I am humbled today as this the 37th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast, which is in fact the biggest event of its kind on the West Coast. I am undoubtedly owe a debt of gratitude. We all owe a debt of gratitude to the Skanner News for keeping the voice of people that look like me alive, for understanding that there's power in media, there's power in voice, there's power even before social media, there's power in understanding that you and I have a story that must be told. As you think about the fact and the reality that all of us have good days and most of us have bad days, the Skanner News has captured the the journey of black folk on our up days and even on our down days, the moments that didn't go viral. They've captured those moments and keep before us so that we understand that at the end of the day, not only what we do for ourselves, but what we do for each other is what's going to keep us moving forward, understanding that all of us are drum majors for justice. And I know that as a people we have long been in an unremitting state of emergency, because after all, if it ain't Tamir Rice, it's Michael Brown. If it's not Michael Brown, it's Oscar Grant. If it's not Oscar Grant, it's George Floyd. If it's not George Floyd, it's Tatiana Jefferson. And we know full well that it's in the words of a famed journalist, it is difficult to be a firefighter. We thank all those who are fighting on the front lines, those first responders. It's difficult to be a police officer. We are grateful for their contribution, but it is inherently dangerous in 2023 to still be black in this America. It's dangerous. It's dangerous being on the front lines. It's dangerous in many of the places that we serve. But at the end of the day, we've got to echo the words of Dr. King and understand that as that old Negro spiritual would bellow out, if I could help somebody along the way, then my living will not be in vain. We understand full well. In fact, there's an old story about two boys who had they no longer had parental covering. They no longer had a home to call their own, and so they made their way to a place called Boys Town. And the story goes that as they're going there, they're catching buses. They're having to catch the train. The wind begins to blow and the rain begins to fall, but they're on their way to Boys Town. They get off the last train on their way to Boys Town, and they soon discover that they've got to walk the last little bit to their final destination. So they begin to walk. An older brother and a younger brother, they begin to walk. And a big brother and a little brother, they begin to walk toward their final destination. And as they're going there, the younger brother said, "Big brother, I'm tired, man. I don't know if I can push forward much longer." He said, "Let's keep going, man. Let's keep going. We've come too far to turn back now." Let me tell you, my dear friends, we've come too far to turn back now. And so as they're marching and as they're walking and as they're making their way to Boys Town, the little brother yelled out once again, "Big bro, I'm getting tired, man. My legs are hurting. My feet are blistering. I don't know if I can go much further." The older brother bends over and like that big brother who had been in the fight for a little while, he lets the little brother get on his back. And they began to walk. Somebody will get in a minute. They began to walk. They didn't stop their journey. They began to walk. I said the big brother bent over, and he let the little brother get on his back. He said, "Bro, I got you, man. Let's go ahead and make sure we continue walking to our final destination." They get to Boys Town finally. The headmaster peeks out the window. He opens the door. He says to the big brother, "Put that boy down. He's much too heavy for you." The older brother looked back at the headmaster with all due respect. He said, "Man, Mr. Headmaster, thank you so much for your concern, but he's not heavy. He's my brother." And I've come 962 miles to remind the great folk in this great city that we've got a duty to one another. And if I can help somebody along the way, you must understand that at the end of the day, we live in a world that's all about ourselves. They're all about getting for themselves. But I believe that we as a people, if we are going to finish strong, if we are going to finish what we started, if we're going to keep moving forward, I know your feet get tired. I know every now and again you feel like sitting this one out. I know there are times on this journey when you get weary, but hold on just a little while longer. I know it gets upsetting sometimes, but at the end of the day, if I've got some folk that's been fighting for a while, why don't you stoop down and help somebody along the way? We understand that the struggle is not just real, the struggle is life. Have I got my help in here today yet? The struggle is not just real. The struggle is the air that I breathe. The struggle is not just real, but the struggle, every morning we get up as we scroll down the timeline. I just heard the news last week about a brother, a 10th grade teacher who was tased about 7 times in LA and finally went into cardiac arrest. The struggle is real. Which is why Dr. King said, and I quote, "The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by bad people, but the silence over that by the good people." Let me come to your table because only about 70% of y'all clap. Let me come to your seat. Dr. King said, and I quote, we're about to move into Pentecostal gear now, the ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people. we know without a shadow of a doubt that there have been some good people that were not as dark as I am. There's been some good people who have not been kissed by nature's sun. But yet they have helped us along the way. We know full well that at the end of the day, we need help to get to where we're going. And it's time out. It's time out for good people to be silent. I don't need an edible arrangement and a card from you. I need you to speak up. Ain't nobody saying nothing back to me today. You can keep your carnation and send it all over the nation. I need somebody to speak up on my behalf. So here it is, as Senator Manning stole some of my minutes. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to steal them back. Ms. Bobby, I came 962 miles to remind you that as we celebrate today without apology, the most renowned mover and shaker of the civil rights movement, one who had big dreams not just for black people, he had big dreams for humanity. He did not have big dreams. That's it. Give him a hand. Yeah, he did not just have big dreams. He did not just have big dreams for those who were down south. He had dreams for every nation, every kindred, every tongue, and every people. He had big dreams for the human race. I'm talking about dreams that were so big that it said that before he died at 39, he traveled over 6 million miles to tell that dream. He traveled and delivered upwards of 2,500 speeches to tell that dream. He won a Nobel Peace Prize just to tell that dream. He wrote 5 books before he died to tell somebody along the way. In fact, I'm glad today that MLK Jr.'s name is iconic now. And chills even roll down your spine when you remember the words he uttered the night before he was assassinated. Standing there at Mason Temple Church in Memphis, Tennessee, he declared, like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight, he said that we as a people will get to the promised land. And even as we reflect on the reality that his dream was cut short, for we know for a fact that throughout history, the full impact of black people on this nation has not been fully told. Which is why in 1976, the year after the Skanner started, Gerald Ford said these words, to seize the opportunity. He said, Americans, we must seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of black people in every area of endeavor throughout our history. Thus, we understand today Well, every now and again, we get the green light to have a day here or there. Every now and again, you ain't got to go to work because we celebrating something somewhere, somehow. A day, well, I'm glad to be here with you. A day, Dr. Johnson, is not enough. In other words, in our grand quest to find the accounts of people of color, don't you forget that the dream of Dr. King is still alive today. When you hear about that single mother who worked 3 jobs to educate her children so that they may have an opportunity to be somebody, the dream is still alive. We celebrate Dr. King's legacy when we capture the story of the father that did not have a college degree, yet he worked from sunup to sundown to ensure that every last one of his children had a college education. Dr. King would dream and remind us of the reality that we've got to highlight teachers and educators who have helped us along the way. When we thought we couldn't be something, there have been those in those classrooms that have told us we can be somebody. Coupled with the great stories that have headlined the Skanner News, we must not forget that Dr. King didn't just champion the front cover of the Skanner paper, but he also was a drum major for those that didn't have a voice, which is why he declared on February 4th, 1968, at the end of his message entitled "The Drum Major Instinct," he bellowed out, "If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or even with a song, if I can show somebody he's traveling wrong, then my living would not be in vain." Dr. King's dream has come a long way, yet it has not been fully met. In fact, I know if you've been to somebody's church, you heard the old song, "We've come this far by what?" Yeah, you know what it is. Yeah, and you must understand that as we've come this far by faith, faith will lead us home. You must understand that we've come this far by faith, but I declare to you today that this far, excuse my French, ain't enough. We've come this far by faith, but we've got miles yet to go. This far ain't enough. We've come this far by faith, but understand, with our brothers and our sisters with us, we will reach the promised land. But as you think about that promised land, as you think about where it is that we're going as a people, in order for us to get there, you've got to take daily inventory of what's on the inside of you. My freshman year of college, I got a young lady's phone number. Hey, don't hate. My wife is watching. I got her phone number at church, but on a college campus in the middle of Texas, I got a young lady's phone number, and I told her that on our first date, I'm going to take you to a place. That time is up for me. I got a minute or two left. Thank you, Sister Bobby. I told her I'm going to take her to a place where she would see the people make all the food. Miss Bobby, you messing with me now. So I told her on the first date, I'm going to take her to a spot where you can see the people make all your food. She said, "Oh, wow, we're going to we're going to Hibachi? Where we going?" So we pulled up the subway. But did I lie? She got extra onions and bell pepper. And, come on, somebody. Yeah. She didn't get just the yellow mustard. She got that honey. Yeah, she got it. And we get to the end of the line, and they try to give my date a small cup. I said, "No, this mine. Give her a big cup." So she gets the big gulp, and she goes over to the fountain drink because, Subway, they don't have Sprite. So she got some Sierra Mist. And she's so excited she begins to pour and get all of the whatever she can fit inside of that big gulp cup. She doesn't know as she's doing that the line behind her is swelling. People are waiting to get their Pepsi, their Mountain Dew. They're waiting to get their drink. So as she finishes putting off the suds or the fizz and putting some more, she finally turns around and there's a gentleman standing next to her, behind her, and she doesn't see him, and she bumps into him, and guess what happens? What's in her cup spilled over onto him. And I think about you and I in this journey, and some days when we want to give up, we've got to check. We've got to check and ensure that we are taking inventory of what's inside of us, because in this struggle, what's inside, whoever you bump into, your contents spill over onto somebody else. So the question you've got to ask yourself is, what did you walk in here today with? Did you come with despair or did you come with hope? Because you bump into somebody today, you must understand that whatever is in your cup, whoever you bump into today, what's in your cup spills over onto them. And so as I sit down today, I want you to take good care of your cup. I want you to guard your cup with all that is within you, because in order for the dream to stay alive, in order for your cup to stay filled with good stuff, I want you to do three things, and I'm going to sit down. Number one, I want you to go. I want you to do what, everybody? I want you to do what, everybody? Number one, I want you to go hard for your people. I want you to go to the ends of the earth to ensure that you are helping, that you are extending whatever you can to help somebody along the way. Number two, I want you to glow. Do what, everybody? Number one, I want you to do what? And number two, I want you to do what? I want you to, listen, there's a book that King would often speak from, and it talks about letting your light so shine before men. Listen, if there's something inside of you that could help somebody who's at a disadvantage, let your light so shine. If there's some revelation that has been given to you that will help somebody on this journey, don't you hide your light under a bushel, but glow. The last thing I want you to do, and then I'll take my seat. The last thing I want you to do after you glow, I want you to make sure every single day of your life you continue to grow. Grow in your knowledge of what people need from you to help the cause. Grow in your understanding of the reality that at the end of the day, some people may need more than others, but as you continue to grow in your capacity to help somebody build, I promise you, we'll be the better for it. And at the end of that journey, we'll be able to stand up with Dr. King and understand the full reality and the fullness of what we've been in, and we'll be able to join in with them after we finish going, after we finish glowing, after we finish growing. We can say with him, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. That's my time. God bless you.
Hello, my name is Anais. I am a pharmacist from Eugene and a member of the Oregon State Pharmacy Association, also known as OSPA. OSPA works year-round to advance the practice of pharmacy through advocacy and education to help improve the health of our fellow Oregonians. Pharmacists are a critical health resource in our community. Unfortunately, our profession and our patients are being negatively impacted by harmful business practices put in place by entities called Pharmacy Benefit Managers, or PBMs. PBMs are middlemen corporations that were intended to negotiate lower drug costs for patients. Today, instead of passing on those savings, they keep the extra profits for themselves, threatening patient access and affordability in Oregon and across the U.S.
The Oregon State Pharmacy Association released a report on PBMs last October. We found that the current system incentivizes PBMs to raise drug prices, resulting in higher out-of-pocket costs for patients. For example, the report shows that Oregon's state Medicaid program was made to pay more than 8 times the manufacturer's asking price for a generic MS drug, nearly $3,000 instead of $350. We must continue to support our independent pharmacies and put Oregonians first.
The business practices utilized by these large companies can be particularly harmful to patients and pharmacists in minority and underserved communities, widening the gaps we already see and preventing equitable access to healthcare for folks across the country. It is critical that we work together to raise awareness about the value of local pharmacies and how we can continue to deliver for patients. On behalf of OSBA, thank you to the Skanner for inviting us to participate in today's MLK Breakfast. We appreciate your work. We honor the life and contributions of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and we look forward to continuing our work together to improve the landscape for all patients and their local pharmacists.
So I want to greet everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. As Jerry said, I'm Bobby Dorey Foster, Vice President of the Skanner Foundation and also editor of the Skanner News Group. I first want to thank the sponsors, the scholarship sponsors. They are showing their commitment to our youth and our community, and we could not put this event on without our sponsors. So let's give them a hand in advance. We received many letters of gratitude from students about how important these scholarships are to them. And so they're very grateful, and I'm so happy that we're able to provide these through our sponsors. We are going to begin with our platinum sponsors, and I want to explain one thing. Some of the students are graduating seniors, and some of the students are already in college. These scholarships are renewable to students, so that some of the students will receive scholarships for all 4 years of college.
Good morning. I'm Patrick Phillips, Interim President of the University of Oregon. The U of O is proud to be a long-standing sponsor of the Skanner Foundation's Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship Breakfast. The Skanner has long been a trusted source for news, and we're grateful for the Foundation's ongoing investment in Oregon student success. This year, we have a lot to be proud of at the University of Oregon. I'm proud that our freshman class is the largest, most diverse, and most academically prepared class in our school's history. I'm proud that with a historic gift and our world-class expertise, we have launched the new Bomber Institute, which is creating a new workforce and approaches to help address the behavioral health crisis facing children and families across Oregon and the nation. I'm proud that we're opening a new campus in Northeast Portland, making good on our 100-year commitment to the Portland community. I'm proud of our many sponsorships of community organizations, including the Skanner Foundation, to advance and enhance the good our nonprofit partners do in the world. And I'm proud that today we are awarding the Skanner Foundation Scholarship to some outstanding University of Oregon students. This year's recipients are shining examples of the university community and exemplify what it means to be a Duck. Congratulations to our scholarship winners. Thank you for your support of student success, and go Ducks.
I applied for the Skanner Foundation Scholarship because I always kept it at the back of my mind that the day that I will be able to access opportunities, I will go for them. And the Skanner Foundation Scholarship is one of them.
The Skanner Foundation Scholarship is contributing towards a sense of security that I have in my education, being able to know that I don't have to worry as much about money and about what I'm going to be doing in the future, and I can focus on my education and on improving myself. Really makes a big difference, I think.
Students succeed when they have personalized academic and social supports. Every day, we at the University of Oregon have the remarkable opportunity to help shape the lives of future leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. And we are grateful for the chance to do that alongside incredible community partners like the Skanner Foundation. We're rising to the occasion and lifting each other up to achieve our collective best together. For more equitable communities, for the benefit of future generations. We are coming together to make a mighty Oregon.
My goal that I set out with my college education was to prepare myself to work in my local community and with local government, and I wanted to stick with Oregon specifically because I feel like there's a lot of great opportunities in Oregon and a lot of good things to do, and I felt that the University of Oregon was the best place for me to do that.
Something that I've learned being at the U of O, this might be a little bit cliche, but just be you. Don't try to fit in with other people. Don't try to be a cool kid. Be kind, be true to yourself, stay positive, and everything else will work out for you.
Our first platinum level recipient is Lisa Amani, University of Oregon. Presenting her certificate is Roger Thompson, Vice President for Student Services. Our next student is Thomas Nguyen, University of Oregon. Presenter is Roger Thompson, Vice President for Student Services and Enrollment. Next is Kelly Schuler, who is also University of Oregon and presented by Roger Thompson. Next, we have Ileana McKinney, De La Salle North Catholic High School. Presenter is Sam Dessou Jr., General Manager of TriMet. Our next presenter is PGE. Roll video.
Good morning. I'm Nick Blosser, Vice President of Public Affairs at Portland General Electric. We are glad to be here with you in person as we celebrate the life and legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King reminded us that we were, quote, caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. He said that whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Today, we reflect on the shared challenges we are facing, like the climate crisis, that call us to look beyond our own neighborhoods and communities to make meaningful change. Today's challenges require collective work and shared responsibility. We at PGE believe that the transition to a cleaner and greener future must be equitable, inclusive, and provide opportunities for all Oregonians. PGE is advancing this inclusive clean energy transition by collaborating with community-based organizations to address societal barriers that make it harder for people to access energy savings and clean energy, by establishing a diversity supplier initiative that sets measurable targets and incorporates partner feedback to make our purchasing process more accessible. We exceeded our target of 15% supplier diversity last year, and we continue to push forward, increasing access for minority-owned businesses and businesses that employ underrepresented populations. By supporting tomorrow's workforce, by creating pathways to green jobs through our Project Zero internship program and our newly launched Oregon Clean Energy Workforce Coalition, and by investing in the academic success of Oregon's next generation of diverse change makers and innovators through partnerships with organizations like the Skanner Foundation. The climate crisis represents one of the clearest current examples of an inescapable network of mutuality. Working together, we want to ensure every Oregonian has a voice in solving challenges to make our communities cleaner, greener, and more equitable. Thank you very much.
Recipient is Colleen Ozekwe, University of Oregon. The presenter, Dr. Steve Nakana, Manager, Community Outreach for PGE.
The doctor will see you now.
But do they really? Do they see that crick in your neck? That ache in your heart? Will they see that funny little thing that wasn't there last year? The new bounce in your step? The way your retinal scan connects to your blood sugar? At Kaiser Permanente, all of us work together to care for all that is you.
student is Rachel Lara, Portland Community College. Presenter is Kirk Dobbins, Vice President and Regional Counsel for Kaiser Permanente. Next we have Zeta Ferguson, Grant High School. Presenter again is Kirk Dobbins, Kaiser Permanente.
Good morning. I'm Kimberly Branham, Executive Director of Prosper Portland. Thank you to the Skanner for bringing us back together in person to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and to reflect on his legacy. As the City of Portland's economic development agency, Dr. King's life and work inspire Prosper Portland to advance economic justice in our community and to work with partners to make Portland a more equitable city. In the past year, our Portland Means Progress initiative has inspired more than 100 businesses representing nearly 40,000 employees to hire local students and young professionals of color, to purchase $200 million in goods and services from businesses owned by people of color, and to create inclusive company cultures. Prosper Portland is demonstrating our own commitment to procuring from Black and Native American-owned firms through the demolition of the large post office facility at the Broadway corridor, which began this past November. Our partners in this work, Northwest Demolition and Raymore Construction, anticipate that 97% of this $30 million project will be performed by MBE certified firms. Please consider joining Portland Means Progress and finding opportunities to hire and invest with intentionality. We are also inspired by the diverse coalition of community partners who co-led the recent creation of the Cully-Tiff District. Centered on economic justice and anti-displacement strategies, we hope that this community-centered approach will be a model in years to come for Portland's equitable growth and development. Because investing in people and businesses with terrific potential is at the heart of the work we do, we're delighted to sponsor and present the Skanner Foundation Scholarship to Imani McRae. Imani is currently in Washington, D.C. at Howard University, majoring in political science with a pre-law track. We are confident that Imani will achieve her dreams of attending law school and pursuing community service by using her outstanding leadership skills and motivation for personal and professional growth. Congratulations, Imani, and thank you for this opportunity to honor Dr. King.
Presenting the certificate to Imani was Kimberly Brannon, Executive Director of Prosper Portland. Our next student is Alia Elenis, Roosevelt High School. Presenting is Jim McGinnis, Director of Communications and Public Affairs for Safeway. Mazane Fesser, Tuskegee University. Presenting Anthony Harrington, Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Providence Health and Services. Next student is Jessica Isabar, University of Louisville School of Medicine. Anthony Harrington, again presenting. He's the Chief DI Officer for Providence. Next student is Matilda Fayette from Riverdale High School. Presenting is Tamecha Turner, Director, Community Diversity Relations, Oregon State University. The next student is Coco Quay, Tulane University. Presenting is Carmen Rubio, City of Portland Commissioner. Next student is Gabriel Gonzalez, Franklin High School. Presenting will be Lynn Pederson, Metro Council President.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stoanne Francis, and I'm the Senior DIB Manager with the Oregon State Lottery. I'm super excited to be here today because I'm very passionate about people, community, and culture. So thank you so much for having me. Today, we gather to honor the life and legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the work that the Skanner Foundation is doing in bringing positive changes to communities of color here in Oregon. This is our 17th year partnering with the Skanner Foundation to provide scholarships to some of Oregon's most inspiring students and highlight the value of education. We're happy today to provide 4 $2,500 scholarships to 4 very deserving students. Some of these students are in their final years of college, and we're proud to have been a small part of their journey. Please join me in congratulating these incredible students and in recognizing the value of education in our community. Oregonians voted many years ago to invest in our state's future, and that's why lottery dollars help fund education today and for many years to come. Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations to our students.
Student is Jaylee Sloan, University of Oregon. Presenter, Starian Francis, Oregon Lottery. Next, we have Raven Pierce, University of Oregon. Also presenting is Starian Francis. Next student is Kalkidan Katima, Portland State University, presenting Starian Francis from Oregon Lottery. And also Cicely Larkin, Oregon State University, presenter Starian Francis, Oregon Lottery. Next we have Kai Ingram, Spelman College. Presenting will be Brian D. Chenoweth, Managing Attorney for Chenoweth Law Group. Next we have Mohammed Bulow, Boston College. Presenter is Jeff Hetherington, President of the Hetherington Foundation. Next we have Naime Overton, Grant High School, presented by Jeff Hetherington, President. And Olivia Elahi, University of Arizona, Mr. Hetherington presenting. The next student is Evelyn Velez, De La Salle North Catholic High School. Presenter is Dr. Danny Jacobs, President of Oregon Health and Sciences University. Next we have Tamia Miller, University of San Francisco. Her presenter is Jessica Vega Pederson, Multnomah County Chair. I forgot to mention that we're at the silver sponsors when we started with Multnomah County. We next have Nancy Herrera Reyes, Roosevelt High School. Presenting her certificate will be James Henderson. Next, we have Christine Bynum, Spelman College. James Doré will be presenting her scholarship. This scholarship is presented by Enterprise Holdings. Next, we have Ferry Platt presenting will be Elizabeth Lorenzo, Senior Social Impact and Sustainability Specialist for Wells Fargo. Next, we have Cameron Berry, Warner Pacific University. Presenting will be Vernon Sutherland, Project Executive for Turner Construction. Next, we have Amira Folsom, American University. Isaac Harris will stand in for Pepsi. Pepsi is sponsoring this scholarship. Next, we have Elizabeth Cortez, Southern Oregon University. Her presenter is Rebecca McAuliffe from Oregon Alliance of Clinical Researchers. Our next student is Amy Nguyen, WSU Vancouver. Her presenter is Bob Gravely, Regional Business Manager for Pacific Power. Next, we have Paige Axness, Grant High School. Her presenter is Myra Arella, Chief Diversity Officer for the Port of Portland. And we have two remaining scholarships from the Skanner Foundation. Sean Waters, Mount Hood Community College. Presenting is Isaac Harris. Next, we have Do Kan Nguyen, David Douglas High School. Presenting is James Henderson. Let's give all of our sponsors and student recipients a hand.
We spend a lot of resources in this city, and we should be able to enjoy the fruitfulness of our work, our labor. About me, I don't work for nothing. So I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I don't work for nothing. So, so I think that what he said has a lot of truth to it, and some of the things that we do is all important. He said something very relevant, and so did our keynote speaker. We put a lot in the system. We put a lot in the economic development of the country. We built Portland way back in the 6 shipyards. So we did a lot for the city, and we should enjoy some of the fruits of our labor. So I just want to say that it's important. I talked to the governor, and I won't say it while she was here. She's going to need a lot of help, and we're willing to help her. And so are you guys. Make sure you call her, tell her some of the issues, some of the problems, but tell her consistently what you want. And right now, you see some of the changes already. Right now, there's been about 3 or 4 resignations, and rightfully so. Leadership is about at the top, middle, and lower management. Leadership is a wonderful thing. Don't be afraid of changes. And sometimes you got to let people go, and that's okay. They'll figure it out. I just want to say to Kimberly, where are you? Are you there? Kimberly Moreland. Congratulations, you did a yeoman job, and the work that you do sort of mirrors what we do. You tell a story, and you tell a story dealing with building and part of the legacy that we built. Leadership is about good people in that organization that allow you to do the things you do. And we got some good people in government, and we got not so good people in government. So I want to say that the guy that she worked for is, his name is, I'll bring it down here, bear with me. Brandon Haley. Brandon, are you in the building? Would you stand up? Brandon Haley? Is he here? Anyway, I just want to say that I want to recognize him for allowing her to do her job, and I know he's strong enough to make sure. But Brandon is a guy that allowed her to do that job and to tell our story. So Brandon, thank you.
On August 28, 1963, 250,000 people rallied in Washington, D.C. to demand an end to segregation, fair wages, and economic justice, voting rights, education, and long overdue civil rights protections.
Civil rights leaders took to the podium to issue urgent calls to action that still resonate decades later. Music played a powerful role at the march, and decades later, the performances remain some of the most iconic of the era.
Like this song performed by Mahalia Jackson. So take a listen and go back with us. How I got over, how I got over. You know my soul look back and wonders how I made it over.
How I got over, how I got over, yeah. You know that my soul look back and wondered how I made it over, yeah.
Well, as soon as I can see Jesus, the man that died for me, the man that bled and suffered, you know he hung on Calvary.